Hi, I'm Dr. Luke Reinhardt, founder of Columbus Food Test, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching our video to go over the reported findings for your recent food test. We're going to go over an example today of a food test to give you some information on how to interpret your results and how to implement the findings that you have. But before we do that, I want to take a minute and go over just one thing that make sure we're clear on. This test specifically is looking for what's called the IgG immune response. Traditional allergies, like you've heard people with shellfish allergies or peanut allergies, correct? They are coming from an immune response called the IgE immune response. The IgE immune response is the immediate immune response. So if someone has a peanut allergy and they come in contact with peanuts, inflammation happens so quickly that they could potentially have their throat closed, they couldn't breathe, and it could be a life-threatening situation. Our test, the test we're going to be going over, is looking for what's called the IgG immune response, which the IgG immune response is the delayed immune response. So with IgG immune cells, it could actually take up to 72 hours after you come in contact with a certain food before inflammation completely sets in. So you could be experiencing symptoms today from something that you had about 3 days ago. Now, why is this important distinction to go over before we go over the test? And the reason being is, let's say you have a peanut allergy, a legitimate allergy to peanuts, and we go over the test and we give you the results, and you see on your test results that you don't have any reaction to peanuts. That does not mean that you can have peanuts again. This does not say that your allergies are gone if you have an allergy to a food, but that shows up here. It does tell us if you do or do not have a sensitivity to a certain food, which is, once again, a different perspective on that, okay? If you have any questions, please let us know. But please make that distinction that if you have an allergy, it is not okay to add those in if this test says you don't have a sensitivity to it. So let's go. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's take a minute and take a look at, this is once again a sample test. And you can see here, when we go over your test results, you will notice that any foods that are on your test results will fall into one of three categories. The first category is low or no sensitivity to the food. Basically, those are all the foods that you see in blue. Now, with the low sensitivity foods, basically, as long as you don't have an allergy to them, from an inflammatory standpoint, you can eat as much as you want. Now, I had a patient one time came in, and we had a test, and it's actually very similar to results of something like this. We found out that she had sensitivities to eggs, right? But she didn't have any sensitivities to grains, and specifically like wheat and gluten. So she went home and thinks, okay, well, I'm not eating eggs anymore. I'm cutting that out of my diet, but I can eat as much bread and pasta as what I want. And once again, make the distinction here that even though for her, it's not saying that wheat is causing inflammation for her, wheat still maybe not necessarily always the best health choice when it comes to achieving your health goals, whether that's losing weight, whether that's what have you. So once again, from an inflammatory standpoint, you can eat as much as you want. I wouldn't necessarily say if there's a food here that's not necessarily the healthiest food, like dairy, things like that, means that you can just go ahead and eat as much as you want. But once again, from an inflammatory standpoint, we're good. So the next category of food would be a moderate sensitivity food. And with moderate sensitivity foods, they're the foods that are listed here in yellow. Those are food that we would recommend, ideal situation, to eliminate from your diet for a period of 3 months. Now, if it's absolutely a food that you cannot live with, once a week is tolerable, is okay, depending on how you react to the food. But if you can eliminate it for 3 months, that's what we would recommend. And why 3 months? Why is that like a really unique number? And the reason being is sensitivities and allergies are different in the fact that if you have an allergy, oftentimes it's a lifelong condition that you battle and you have to pay attention to. With sensitivities in this test, it's really more of a snapshot in time. Sensitivities lie in the gut. And what happens is when you have these gaps in our gut and undigested food goes into your bloodstream before it should, it can cause an immune response. If we can eliminate something you have a moderate sensitivity to, we will decrease the body's overall amount of inflammation, allow your gut to heal, seal up some of those gaps in our gut, and oftentimes, once again, the sensitivities can either reduce or go away. We'll talk about, once we go over the last category here, we'll talk about re-implementing foods once you're done with the period. But once again, the takeaway here is if you have a moderate sensitivity, ideally 3 months to completely eliminate the food. If you can't live without it, once a week is acceptable. And then after, and do that for a minimum of 3 months. The third and final category are severe food sensitivities, and those are in the avoid category. You see here with this person, they have a severe reaction to egg whites and both egg whites and egg yolks. And that is, with a severe sensitivity, we recommend eliminating those foods for a period of 6 months. And so this person here would have to eliminate eggs for 6 months, and really there's kind of no wiggle room on if you should be able to can cheat a little bit. Now, with eggs, the eggs is a good example here. People ask me, well, does that mean just like eating scrambled eggs, or does it mean everything eggs are in? That means everything that eggs are used as an ingredient. So if you have baked goods, things like that, that use eggs as part of the ingredient, it includes that too. So we recommend eliminating those severe foods for a period of 6 months. So you can kind of take a look down here, compare these recommendations with your findings specifically. Once again, this is just an example, not yours specifically, but you can kind of see those recommendations. Now, once we get done with the period of 3 months for moderate sensitivities, and a period of 6 months for moderate sensitivities, once again, this is a snapshot in time, so these will change, and these sensitivities can potentially be either reduced or go away. And once that period of time is over, there's really 2 options for reintroducing food. The first option is doing a kind of a trial and error, which means basically trying to start eating foods and see how your body responds, see how you feel. If you decide to take that route, I would not add in all the foods at the same time. So for this person, a good example, if they wanted to have some almonds again, start eating almonds, give it about a week, see how you do. Then say, okay, I'm doing good, let's try to add back in bananas. Do that for a week. Add in pineapple. Oh, you know what? I'm having a bad reaction to pineapple. I'm going to take that back out. What's the next one down the road? Garlic. I want to eat some garlic. So I'm going to have a little bit of garlic this week. Give it another week. Yeah, I'm doing good. Let's try green beans. Nope, no green beans yet. That can be trial and error can be good, but you have to remember that with the sensitivity, it could take up to 72 hours before you have symptoms to really know if that's what's causing your problem. The other option is simply doing a retest. Sometimes that is the best option because it's the least confusing. Once again, this test is really nice because you're allowed to have more than one sensitivity, and your sensitivities are allowed to change in time. So if you had on this day a sensitivity to bananas and pineapples and garlic and green beans and kidney beans, but now that's changed, or some of them have gone away, but not all of them, unless you're eliminating all the foods you're having sensitivity to, you could still have chronic inflammation. So sometimes when there's a lot of things on the list, doing a re-exam and a retake will actually be a very good recommendation just to avoid confusion. Last thing we want to go over here, and you'll see on the last thing on the screen, on everyone's screen, is what's called Candida albicans. What is that? So Candida is not actually a food. Candida is a yeast that ideally should grow in our gut. And we need some of it in our gut to help us break down certain foods and absorb certain nutrients. It's something that we do want some of. The problem is when that starts to proliferate and spills over from our gut into our bloodstream is when it can cause some health challenges. So 2 things we really want to say, 3 things that we really want to do with Candida. The first thing, when we talk about yeast eat sugar. So if you have a very high Candida score, like this person does, you really have to watch your sugar intake. And that even includes healthy sugars like a lot of fruits. If you have a high sugar diet, that will continue to feed the Candida and they will continue to grow and proliferate. When you start eliminating the foods that will decrease inflammation, that will help seal up your gut, help keep it in there as well. So that kind of is a second recommendation. Just following these food guidelines will help with that. But the last thing you want to really do is have a good probiotic that you're taking on a regular basis to help improve that gut health and really help kickstart that, to help keep that from once again spilling over into the bloodstream from in the gut. If you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'll answer any food questions you have or supplement questions you have. We have a good probiotic in the office if you're interested. So those are your results. If you have any questions on how to implement them, please reach out. I have seen the gamut. I have seen people we've done the test and it comes back where they don't have any sensitivities at all, which is obviously what we want. Sometimes it's disappointing because we're doing the test to try to hope to find something, but that's an option. That's something that can happen. The other thing that I want to kind of go over real quick is what happens if we are reacting to everything. At that point, one, I would recommend taking some time and having a consultation with myself and really kind of going over a game plan for you specifically. That's more of something we need to go over on a one-on-one to go over. But really what we would try to do in that standpoint is we would try to focus on, because you have to eat, right? We would focus on eating the foods that probably were focused on more of the moderates. We would look at where you score in that chart and maybe just try to choose the avoids to allow to at least some degree decrease of inflammation. And we'd probably look at a little longer healing time if you're that severe. But once again, if you have any more questions about your food test, or there's some more information, or you need more information about how to implement the findings, please reach out to us. We can still do consultations either face-to-face or virtually, and hopefully we will help you achieve your goals. Thank you again for tuning in, and hope you do well with the food test. Thank you.